I'm not a parent. I won't be for a long time. But I was like, this affects my future. Who knows when I'm gonna have a kid? So I had to go in and see what that was about. Mm-hmm. And I found out that was something I stand very strong behind. It's like if my 10-year-old child's trying to make a life-changing decision, they should not be able to just go to their teacher or principal.
From the Blue Form Media Studios, this is the 435 Podcast, the pulse of Southern Utah.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Another episode of the 435 Podcast. I'm your host, Robert McFarland. Today's episode, we have two college athletes from Utah Tech University talking about their lifestyle, the lifestyle of a college athlete, and their view on politics, all the craziness that's going on in the world. And we hope you enjoy this episode. Also, it's National Diabetes Day is right now, today, and it's Awareness Month. That's why I shaved my beard. We'd love to raise some money for the Washington County Diabetic Youth Association, so check out the link in the description. Enjoy the episode, guys. We'll see you out there.
I'm from northern Utah, and then I was working in like corporate management, kind of gravitated down here and moved back in 21.
Nice.
Got into real estate. And,
so you Utah or BYU fan?
He played football
I did,
at Davis High School. Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame, yeah. Yeah.
Tell him the story.
What story?
You are a part of the Davis High School Hall of Fame.
That is true. Yeah, so we won
something specific.
Well, we won the state championship in 04.
In football.
Graduated high school in 05, probably before you guys were even born.
I was 2 years old.
Right. I was also 2.
So that's another thing, dude. So we're 37.
So we wanted to have you guys on. Because we're totally disconnected. I was like, I don't even know what it's like to be in college anymore. I'm actually officially just far enough away where I'm like, I don't even know.
Yeah, it's wild. Because I still feel like I'm whatever.
Yeah, I feel like I'm probably what you guys. I still think I'm in college. Yeah, in my head, I'm like, I'm still just like a college kid.
Yeah, but these guys look at us and they're like, holy frick, these guys are old. Dude.
I mean, actually, we have an accounting class together.
Yeah, get closer. We
had this realization. Our teacher asked about what grade we were in when COVID hit, when it first hit, and who was in high school, was it your senior year? Like for me, it was my sophomore year. For you, it was junior year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then she was like, anybody was in middle school, and there's like a couple people who raised their hands, and I was like,
yeah,
that just. I mean, when you think about it, it's not that crazy, but it was like, dang.
Yeah, but that's like, like for you guys, that's like an integral part of your life, right? But for us, I was just like, I was 33, 34, 37 now. But
yeah, I mean, I just had a kid.
Yeah.
I just had my third kid, and we just bought a house, and I'm looking at the world like, what is going on? This is so far out of anything I ever would have imagined this would have happened when I was at this age, right?
Yeah.
And so, but then you look back in generations and you're like, oh, well, my grandfather kind of had something like this, and my dad actually kind of had something like this happen, right? Like
major.
every generation, right? JFK got shot in 1962.
Yeah, dude, every boomer could tell you exactly where they were, right? 9/11, right? Yeah. I was in 9th grade, right? Like
exactly. So every generation we have these moments that shake us up, and then it impacts. There's just residual impact on that, for the rest of that generation's existence. But we kind of just keep going on this little roller coaster around and around, And so I'm curious though, Utah Tech in general. So are you on the football team?
I am, yeah.
Yeah. So what position are you playing?
I'm the kicker.
You're the kicker, okay, and then you're the long snapper.
Yep.
You guys are like the duo.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
dynamic duo.
Don't mess it up in the because
you have one job.
You have one job, and it's always 2 seconds left in the game, and it's don't mess this up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. That's the standard, is perfection every single time.
Every single time, yep. and then you've had a long season. It's been a long season.
Yeah.
Just got the first win though.
Big one.
Did it feel
Big
good?
Win.
I can't imagine
because this is first year in the WAC, correct?
UAC. We were in the WAC, the Western Athletic Conference, and then actually this is our second year in the UAC.
That's right.
We combined with a bunch of teams out east. I forget what the conference was, but
it's like the ASUN or something.
ASUN, yeah, American Sun.
Yeah, but you played UNLV. UNLV is a great team, right? I mean, and it just comes down to recruiting, right? I mean,
absolutely.
That's what it comes down to, is recruiting.
So getting out on the field, have you guys had much field time?
Yeah, Ryan's got a ton of field time.
Quite a bit.
Yeah. Because a lot of punts.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. At one point, we were actually on track to break the single season punting record for the most amount of punts in a season. I believe the record was set before like 95 by Rutgers in like 2016, I believe.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. And so we were on track to smash it. But I mean, we've picked it up over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What do you think's changed?
I mean, just the belief. I mean, we came out swinging against Central Arkansas. Everything was just, we were executing on all levels, and we were like, oh, dang, because they were ranked number 9 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we weren't sure what to expect. We were 0-9.
Yeah.
So we're like, we got nothing to lose. Let's just go out and play football.
No
see what
pressure.
we can do.
No pressure.
And it started clicking, and we were just like, okay, we could actually do this. A couple weeks before that, like the last 2 games before that, we had some close games. And so we were like, maybe, this, we can get this done. And then we got it done. And so it's like, man, that just shows our potential,
Yeah. Yeah. First year head coach though, right?
Yeah, first year.
Yep.
Yeah, he came from Boise State this past season, but before that, he was with Stanford for like 15 years.
Played at BYU, right?
Idaho State.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think it was Idaho State.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sweet.
So thinking about like getting punched in the gut, because the score, you guys they'd score on you a bunch, and it was almost like, do you think that was like the wind got knocked out of your sails in a couple of those games, and then it was hard to like pull it back together? So thinking about like being able to recreate what the win that you guys did get, do you think you're gonna be able to do that? Because it sounds like you guys have all the tools.
I mean, the last couple of weeks, like Ryan said, it was starting to kind of click, and then I guess against Central Arkansas, it was like everyone was firing on all cylinders, and I'd like to say that we've kind of, I don't want to say we figured it out, because you never
Just turn
really
the corner
truly
maybe a little bit.
Yeah, turn the corner, and I'm excited for these last 2 games. Like
Cool.
we got West Georgia in 2 days, and then our big SUU game the week after. So
Yeah, that's a big one. And I think West Georgia is like a brand new football program.
yeah,
They were in that a little bit.
They were in Division II for a while, and then this is their first year as a D1 school.
Yeah.
So
Cool. Sweet.
So what do you think about Utah Tech? Like, how did you know about Southern Utah? Had you lived here before? Or?
No, I think I've driven through it one time before I actually moved here, and I was going up to Montana for whatever reason, and I actually learned about Utah Tech, or it was Dixie State at the time, when my kicking coach from back home, he kind of reached out to me. He's like, oh, this school might be looking for a kicker this year, and like you should reach out to them. And I honestly had no idea that the school even existed. And like a big part of what I wanted to do was I wanted to stay as close to home as I could. So I was looking for schools in Arizona, and then this one is practically on the border of Arizona. So
you could throw a rock and hit at Arizona if you got a really good arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some houses that have backyards.
It just goes right to Arizona.
Back
Yeah.
up to Arizona. Yeah.
Crazy.
So getting a scholarship, that was a key thing.
Well, I'm still not on scholarship.
Oh, okay.
But I'm hoping at the end of this year. And it was kind of like,
Let's go, coach. Let's get some scholarships rolling.
Come on, pay the kid.
Pay the kid.
Yeah, so it was just the opportunity to play, because it was my only college offer, and I just took it and ran with it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sweet, man.
Cool.
So, what have you thought of Southern Utah? Like, is it the kind of the college vibe that you thought it was going to be, or you were kind of just like, I don't know what it's going to be like? So
I kind of had a general idea, just because from what I've heard before I moved up here, everyone's like super big on outdoorsy stuff. Like all I heard about was the golf, like the golf capital of the world. And
that's interesting. Cool.
yeah. And I picked up golf a couple years ago. So like that was really exciting. Like, oh, I got to play all these cool courses. And,
Which course is your favorite?
out of all the city courses, because those are the ones I play the most, I love Southgate.
Yeah.
Southgate's fun.
Underrated. For sure, underrated. Dixie Red Hills, too. Underrated.
I love Dixie Red Hills, too.
Yeah, Dixie Red Hills is always a top 2.
Good walking course.
For sure.
Good walking course.
I still like Sunbrook. Sunbrook's fun.
Sunbrook's real good.
Yeah. So the golf has been fun. So I mean, what is a college life like? Thinking about what do you guys do? Is it just school football and you play golf and you fish, Ryan? Is that pretty much it?
Yeah. I mean, that was the thing that attracted me here in the first place, was just that, like you talked about, that outdoorsy lifestyle, especially the hiking. I mean, all the places you can view, like Snow Canyon. You know, that's such a, you can drive 20 minutes outside of St. George, you're up there, and I mean, there's just so many beautiful things, you know. But kind of the thing that kind of lacks, I feel like, is like if you're looking for a city life, you know, I don't really think that's
there's nothing like that here.
Non-existent.
Yeah.
Do you think the students, like, if it existed, is that something that they're like, man, we really wish that was here? Or is it they come here and they already expecting that it's not going to be that, so they're not really like disappointed in it?
I mean, I feel like a lot of the kids are typically they're from like Vegas, California, Arizona, and a lot of kids are from up north. And my kind of theory is a lot of kids come down south to St. George for like spring break, and that's when everyone's here, and they think it's like, oh, like so many people are here, it's so fun, it's so cool, and then they get here for college and it's just like a desert.
Yeah.
So,
and there's a bunch of older people.
Oh yeah,
there's a bunch of older people
for sure.
If you want to get good at pickleball, though, there's a 65-year-old like female that would whoop your butt at Vernon Worthen Park anytime you wanted.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's embarrassing.
There's some old people out there that I'm sure are fun to hang around with. If I was a college kid,
I've yet to play pickleball in my life.
Are you gonna be like one of those people who've never seen Star Wars, where you're like, well, now I can't even watch it because it's like a point of pride that you're like, I'm never gonna do it because I haven't done it in this.
That's how I was.
Honestly, no. Like I've always wanted to try. I've just like never gone out and done it.
We gotta do it, dude.
Reason.
We gotta get that going.
Yeah, we gotta get that going.
I mean, our Utah Tech's pickleball team, national champions.
Yeah, that's what I just heard.
Jeez, I had no idea.
Yeah, I follow Bella. She's student body president over there. I follow Bella. I try to keep up with what's going on over there. Mm-hmm. So, like the campus life there, though, because are you guys both on campus? I can't remember.
We're like right across the street from campus.
Okay,
so, yeah, pretty close.
So, is there like any parties? Do you guys? Is there some pretty good events like on campus that's organized by the students there?
Yeah, there's every Wednesday there's like a student event, and I went to one yesterday, and it was like an open mic night where if you could sing, tell jokes, play the guitar, like you had 5-10 minutes, and people would just like go up and.
Was it pretty pop? It
was cool.
Pretty packed.
It was probably about 50% of capacity. Yeah, but it was still a really fun time. I just think sometimes they don't feel like inclined to go out, and whenever they do end up going, they really enjoy it, but just I don't feel like it's either they don't advertise it well enough or people just like to stay home. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe they just want to sit and watch YouTube. I don't know, play video games. Is there a lot of Gen Z? Does your generation, is everybody still playing video games?
Oh yeah, I play it.
You play. So like in your free time, like if you were to pick anything, what would you pick?
I mean, it depends on how much free time I have. If I have 3-4 hours, I'd probably go golf. If I have like 20-30 minutes, I'll probably turn on and play video games.
What are you playing?
I've only played one game for the past 4 months, and it's the new like NCAA college football game that just came out. And Ryan and I actually started this like dynasty mode where we both start off as the coach of the same school, and then we kind of like divert and like see who goes where and who does what.
That's crazy.
That's dope.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
That's cool.
So, do you play? Can you? Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm thinking about like the games and like sports games. I never really did sports gaming, so I don't know how integrated it gets. Like, could your account and your account play each other in a game as part of the season goes?
Yeah, actually, they have this really cool mode, but we can't do it because we only have one like console.
Oh, one console. Okay,
but
that makes sense.
If he had his own and I have my own, then it's like you could integrate into like.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty sweet.
So yeah, my boy's like. I think this kind of leads me to my other thought, like with the difference of generations, because I think one of the biggest differences in generations is the technology gap.
Yeah, because they're the first like fully plugged in, like social media technology at their fingertips. They're the first ones.
Yeah, because you guys don't know.
I read a newspaper in high school. Like I picked up the newspaper every single day and I read the newspaper.
That's
how I got my news.
I played the Snake game on my Nokia brick.
Yeah, me too.
Right?
I had the same thing.
My first
exact
phone
one.
was a Nokia.
Nice.
Yeah, it was like a little.
See, that's good.
That's
and
cool.
because 97, you guys born 97?
03.
03.
You were
Okay.
way off, dude.
Samsonite.
way off.
I'm horrible at math.
Well,
So
because,
I literally just guessed. I was like,
yeah. Well, like, because you guys don't know. I mean, you don't know what life is like without social media, right? Like, I mean, how old were you when you got a Instagram or a Facebook?
My dad, both my parents tried to keep it away for as long.
Yeah.
So I was probably, I want to say 12, 13.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So that's kind of my theory on kind of the generational gap, like between, I don't know, between us, like, mid late 30s millennials, like elder millennials, and what Gen
Z.
Gen Z, then
X?
Gen Alpha after that.
Whatever.
Right?
Yeah.
I think Gen Alpha is right behind them.
Yeah.
So thinking about how do you guys get news? Like, are you legitimately, like, I keep hearing it's like some insane percentage of Gen Z gets their news on TikTok. Is that how you guys get your news?
I try to stay away from that, but that is true. A lot of people just go scrolling, and I mean, whatever they see or hear, they're just gonna run with it.
So if there was a nightlife, like, I don't know, I've heard some people compare. So like Chris Connors, Farmstead, shout out to Farmstead.
What's up, Chris?
He said that St. George should aim for something like a downtown Tempe, right? Where like it's walkable, right? So I guess maybe my question for you guys is, if there was a scene like that here, would college kids go to it?
Absolutely.
I definitely think so. Yeah.
So the scene being what though? Because I think of downtown Fullerton, right? I went to Cal State Fullerton, and downtown Fullerton is like it's a
That's
party
where you go
street.
party?
Like that was a party street, right? And it's like bar after bar after bar, and it's just like a couple of different themes, but it's basically everybody just getting trash and loud music. And that's clearly not ever going to be here.
Yeah.
No.
So like,
it's
how would we shape it? Like if you guys were to shape for your generation and generation back, is it like there's this place called Chicken and Pickle. Have you ever, you've never played pickleball, so you probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but it's called Chicken and Pickle, and it's like this roasted chicken place, but they have all kinds of food, but it's for big parties, and they have pickleball courts, they have indoor pickleball courts, they have like cornhole throwing spaces, they have a bunch of different yard games, they have pool tables. So it's kind of like a sports, like an active game type bar at the same time, because they have a full bar. Is that something that you think would have a bunch of college kids at, or like what would you guys design?
That sounds cool to me. I don't know. I like that idea. Obviously, it's not going to be like downtown Fullerton. We're not going to have row bars, which I don't think that's just causing problems.
And nobody wants that,
No.
right? Yeah, nobody wants it. And the kids, I don't think you would want to go to that, even if it existed. I don't even think you guys would go to it.
Yeah.
But what does it look like? What do you guys think?
I like everything we have downtown, like down the boulevard. I kind of think of that little corner where Pizza Factory is, Pasta Factory.
Yeah, George's Corner.
Yeah, it's like super condensed, but you can like kind of walk through there, and there's like little areas to hang out. There's cool lighting and stuff. I know people like that. Other side of the street, there's like this alleyway with like murals and lights hanging. We have a
City View.
We have a friend who got proposed to there.
That's nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's a pretty cool spot. But I just imagine like, just like a square, with shops, places to eat, something like Chicken and Pickle in there.
Yeah.
Where there's activities, and just for everybody to be centralized. Cause I feel like it's like, there's that area by George's Corner that's just kind of condensed, and it's just all the way down that street. So it's like, if you're going somewhere, you're driving there, parking there, and that's kind of your spot.
So, and this is what I'm hoping to do. So, the vacant lot right next to George's Corner, right? So if you just keep going down St. George Boulevard, but on the same side of the street is George's Corner, there's a big vacant lot there. And so it used to be a hotel, St. George Inn. So they tore that down. The city owns it. They're going to have a developer go in and put something in there. And I'm hoping they'll put something that is, an activity, a community type activity entertainment center there. Like they could just have, shops, a couple restaurants and stores, and then a bunch of apartments, which would be okay. But if they had like a little movie theater in there, and like maybe
laser tag,
like maybe an upgraded laser tag, you know what I mean? But even Laser Mania,
not throwing shade at Laser Mania,
it is fun,
but it's old.
It could be bigger. It just could be bigger, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's dated. Yeah.
But so like thinking of like, a couple of other activity type stuff out there, but what about like a video game type place? Do you think that you would go to a place and play video games like an old arcade,
like one of those 24/7, one of those 24/7 golf lounges?
Oh,
but for video games, dude.
But for video games,
Yeah.
so like
Business idea.
He could have a console, like you have a subscription to the place, and the console is at the place. You just log into your own account.
I feel like that would be pretty
work.
cool, but I feel like a lot of kids would just be too lazy to get up and go.
Like I just got it right
honestly.
here. Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah.
What did Blake say?
Yeah. Video games at home.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
I don't want my video games out in public. I like it in private.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob, do you mind if I let the dogs out? You guys cool with dogs?
Who lets the dogs
I
out?
love dogs.
This is kind of a chill episode.
The Baja.
Please send them in.
Yeah, send the dogs in, man. Send in the dogs.
What kind of dogs are they?
Oh, you'll see him here.
Okay.
They're not dogs that will bite your face off.
I mean,
will.
Blitz
Sometimes-
could.
Blitz
Those
could.
are the cutest ones sometimes.
I don't think
Yeah.
Blitz is smart enough.
Oh, hello.
Hi. Blitz is smarter than me, I think.
Oh, they went straight to Ilya.
Hopefully they don't pull
Like,
the
he
cords.
smells good.
Oh,
Yeah, that's kind of what I was worried about.
Yeah. Hey, Blitz.
I don't think they're worried about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just thinking about like what is it that generation, what your guys' generation wants to do outside in the world? It seems like we're on that right route. It's just slow to get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It takes time. You're only, if you come to college here 4 years time for any development, is like a standard amount of time if you have the idea.
Yeah.
And the college is, oh, hi. You're just right there. You're just right there. The college is growing rapidly, and so development is just going to have to catch up, I think,
Yeah.
is really what the bottom line
Well,
is.
I think
on that.
student housing is like the issue for enrollment, because there's no, like I've heard the argument or seen the argument before. Well, ever since the school changed names, which we should probably talk about that at some point. Like, do kids care about that at all? But my point is like the school is not growing really at all. But that's because there's nowhere for students to stay, right? I mean, it was like the enrollment's like 12,500, something like that.
Are you guys roommates?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your rent, if you don't mind me asking?
So I did the semester rate, and
it's for student housing, right?
yeah. So
Okay.
it's not
technically
through the
off
school.
campus.
But it's like school approved,
Yeah.
like actual student housing. Okay.
Yeah, and per semester, I pay it's like a $2,000 flat fee, and then there's like $70 a month in utilities.
Oh, got it.
So it's nothing horrible.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not too bad.
So call it what, $2,000 for 4 months.
Yeah. So,
So
Yeah.
okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's not too bad. So it seems like if it was really that tough to find the housing, it would be more expensive. Or do you think they're just rent controlling it because like, well, a college kid can only afford this, and we only have, 5,000 rooms, period, and anybody else has got to go get a house. Do you guys know anybody that's like, yeah, they couldn't even get student housing and they have to live off campus? Do you even know anybody like that?
I feel like most people, because I usually just hang out with like the football players, and I don't know if they get first dibs on the campus housing, but most of them either live there, or I can only really think of maybe 4 like student housing areas. There's all the campus views, and then there's the stay, which is where we're at.
And then they just finished some, right?
Brand new campus view.
Yeah.
Brand new
View 3.
campus view, yeah.
Okay, got it.
And then there's Red Rock, which is a couple miles away. And then there's like Vintage at Tabernacle, which I heard that place is pretty pricey. And then
Interesting.
605 is also, I heard, is pretty pricey.
I've heard that's
expensive.
pricey too, like $1,800 a month or something like that.
I think they had room rates. 605, right? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, I think they had individual room rates like $600, but it was like an intro. It was just the banner up there. So they have a couple of different layouts, I think, in 605 too. It's like you could do 2 beds or 1 bed or 3 beds. So there's a few options. So housing for you guys hasn't been a problem. So thinking like long term, you're not going to stick around St. George likely though. What do you guys think? Do you think most people stick around
Or
would want to?
Yeah, that was going to be my question too. Like, is there a conversation on campus about that? Like, are kids like, hey, I'm from Southern California, but like, I don't want to go back there. I want to stay here. Are kids talking about that on campus? Is that even a conversation at all?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely, thought about it, talked about it with my parents and my girlfriend about what we're gonna do, once we graduate, because obviously if we're not going to school there anymore,
Right.
what are we
What's
doing?
next?
We got to find somewhere else to live, right? And And obviously California is so expensive.
So ridiculous.
So expensive. And that's where all my family's from. But the nice thing about St. George is it's an easy drive down the 15.
Yeah.
I literally just get on the 15, drive for 5 hours, get off on my exit, I'm home.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something I've thought about. And St. George is super intriguing just because of the business opportunity. And that's what I am getting into. I'm majoring in business management. Cool. And so just all the opportunity here, you know, I began to build a network, you know, just through football and everything I'm a part of. And also just, you know, I feel like it's a great place to raise a family. I mean, I'm sure you can attest to that.
Yeah, man. That's why we stayed.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't know exactly how, you know, it's going to pan out, but, you know, it's definitely something I'm open to.
Do you feel like there's possibilities for jobs? Like, have you got feelers out there yet? Like because you're a junior, right?
Yeah, junior.
Yeah. So I guess maybe it's a little early. Maybe next year you start kind of getting feels for job opportunities. What do you think now? Let's say you were graduating this next semester. Do you think there'd be options, or do you even know?
I think there would be. You know, I feel like I know enough people, ex-football players and coaches, and we have this mentorship program. So all these, you know, huge business people in St. George, they come and, you know, help us out. And so I always have those connections. And, you know, back to the former players, there's guys who are in real estate and whatnot. And just, I mean, I feel like you can look around anywhere and find a job, really. I mean, I haven't looked into anything specific yet.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, because I think there's a little bit of a boogeyman mentality that gets fired up, at least on the political side of things, to like hear maybe the generation that's disconnected. That's like, this is anecdotal. This is happening to my nephew or something like that. And now because I'm already a politician and decision maker, I'm gonna apply that to the entire community and saying, you know, hey, we need to do these things and get something done for this generation. And it's like, there's not enough job opportunities. It's like, wait a minute, isn't there not enough job opportunities? Or is there actually a lot of job opportunities and you can live here and find a house if you are just diligent enough to like seek it out? So I think sometimes we get we worry ourselves to death over stuff that's not really actually a problem yet. So, but I don't know. Did you guys vote?
Yep.
You did?
not vote.
You did not vote?
I honestly didn't know I could vote in person.
Thanks for being honest, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because I'm from Arizona and the ballot got sent to Mesa and my dad's in Sedona, so he wouldn't have been able to like go and grab it and ship it out to me. I would have.
Yeah.
But just didn't have the time to.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
So you did vote?
Yeah, I did. I mean, fortunate enough, which I didn't know that either. I didn't know if you were from out of state, you could go vote in person. And I didn't do too much research on it, but would you, if I were to vote in person here, would it count towards California or Utah?
It depends on where you are a resident of. So what is your residence? So if you're a resident of California, you'd be there. Where's your driver's license?
California.
So it'd be a California vote.
Right.
Yep.
But yeah, so my mom I was fortunate enough. She brought it up. We had the home game a couple weeks ago. She came and brought it up to me.
Yeah.
So it was honestly
cool.
I really enjoyed the process.
Yeah.
Cause it was like, I got all the props and everything.
If we lined up 100 people, I bet you would be the only one to be like, I really like the process. maybe I'm totally wrong, but I'm surprised at that. I'm surprised.
It was probably your first time voting, right?
It was my first time. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of excitement there.
Yeah.
And
the older you get and the more tax bills you got to cut and, car registrations you got to pay, you'll get beat down.
Yeah. I bet.
The more eggs you have to buy,
I bet,
and milk.
Yeah.
And all these other things.
Yeah. Not to be discouraged.
Not to be discouraging. Yeah. Don't. You hang around us too much. We're a little too cynical. So you're like, man, these guys are kind of negative, aren't they? For real. So you like the process. So take me through the process. Like how did you unfold it in your mind? Did you get the ballot, then start looking, or were you kind of thinking about it before the ballot came?
I thought about it, a bunch before the ballot came in, but I didn't know exactly what I was supposed to look into. And the most intriguing part was looking at all the all the senates and everything beyond just the presidency. I was like, okay, who are these people? You know, I gotta figure this out.
Yeah.
And just looking through all the different propositions and just doing my research on that. And like through doing that, I was able, you know, to find out where I stand and just kind of, you know what things are valuable to me.
Yeah.
You know,
kind of inspect that a little bit. What was one of the things that, what was in that discovery? What did you find that was more important to you that you hadn't realized?
Oh, I mean, I remember I was looking at 2 different senates, I believe, and, you know, they seemed pretty similar, you know, just from what I was looking at, but one of them mentioned something I'd never heard about, and that was parental rights. And I'm not a parent. I won't be for a long time. But I was like, you know, this affects my future. Who knows when I'm gonna have a kid? So I had to go in and see what that was about. And I found out that was something I stand very strong behind. It's like, if my 10-year-old child's trying to make a life-changing decision, they should not be able to just go to their teacher or principal and just move forward with that without me knowing.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It seems so crazy to me.
It seems weird that would be something you would be running on. You're like, I think this is a good idea. And then they think the normal people of the planet wouldn't look at that and be like, yeah, I don't think that's right. I don't think a 10-year-old have they not met a 10-year-old? My thought is like, maybe these people have never actually met a 10-year-old before. And they were only a 10-year-old. They got there and they already thought they knew everything, because some 10-year-olds think they're that smart. And then they never met another one. It's like, why would you think that person has the ability to make decisions like that? It's crazy.
Right. I mean, there's a reason, you know, you're not allowed to vote until you're 18. You can't get a tattoo until you're 18. You can't buy alcohol or anything else till you're 21, because, you know,
we've seen that, you know, there's proof we can't be trusted before that.
Yeah, no.
They're not developed yet.
Yeah, no, not at all.
So you're called a single issue voter is what the political people would say. It's like, there's one issue that really drives this person over that one. So did you even have to think about the presidential election, or did you feel like you were already aligned one way or another?
I felt like I was pretty aligned one way.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the biggest thing to me is I don't want to be one of those people who's just brainwashed either way.
Yeah.
You know, based on the way I was raised.
So you weren't upset when Kamala lost? You didn't have to take time off of school or anything like that?
No, I did not.
Oh my gosh. I saw too many videos of people having full-blown meltdowns. I was like, they have to be active. This can't be real.
Much time, dude. I spent too much time.
I spent way too much time watching those videos.
I just couldn't stop.
People crying about it.
But here's what's interesting, though. If you think about like what these guys were doing in 2016, right? I mean, you were 10 years old, 12 years old,
drinking
right?
a juice box.
Drinking a juice box. So like the polarization maybe of Trump in 2016, like for you and me, we went through it, right? We remember basically.
I remember vividly saying, like, I can't believe I have to listen to this guy for 4 years. He sounds so dumb. I hate listening to him talk. That's how I thought in 2016. And now I'm like, at least Trump's talking sense. Like that's just nuts to me.
Well, and I think that's the case for a lot of people. But
8 years later,
I remember when he said, because you'd be in jail, just rolling on the floor laughing, just dying, right?
So where are your parents from? Like, where are you from?
Both of my parents were born in the Soviet Union. They both lived in Tashkent in Uzbekistan, and that's by like Kazakhstan, Russia, kind of that area, Central Asia. And yeah, my dad came here in 1989. He spent, just because the paperwork was so difficult to get from the Soviet Union, he spent a month in Austria, and then he spent 6 months in Italy, and then he finally came here, and he lived in New York for probably 10 or so years. He met my mom there, funny enough, dude. And then
what were they doing for work?
Yeah, I was going to say, what was his first job?
So my dad
in New York,
he actually had basically every single like typical immigrant job you could think of. Like he was
washing dishes, washing
dishes, making pizzas. He was a hot dog vendor, and then just like a taxi. He was a taxi driver. How could I forget that? That was like his main job in New York.
Yeah,
and he had his like yellow cab.
Crazy.
And I mean, he's a barber. Like that's kind of his,
by trade.
And he would just pick up like little jobs wherever, and
So he met your
cool,
mom
dude.
there. Where's your mom from?
So my mom is from Tashkent as well.
Okay.
And his aunt or his cousin kind of introduced them both.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Dude, that's cool.
Because they kind of migrate to typically they go to other areas where a bunch of people from their area are already existing, right? So enclaves. And so this was a specific area in New York.
Yeah.
where-
So Queens is full of like Bukharian Jews, which is what my dad is.
Okay.
And just a lot of Russians as well. So it was kind of just like that little community that transferred over.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's crazy.
So as far as your race being, you said Boharian Jew?
Yeah. So it's, they're ethnically Jewish.
Ethnically.
And religiously. But so after King Cyrus, right? If I remember correctly, after he freed them from Babylon,
Got it.
the Bukharian Jews were kind of the people that stayed in Persia, and everyone else went back to Israel. So we were kind of that group that stayed back.
Okay, got it. And so then, were you raised a specific religion?
Yeah, I mean, we weren't super involved in religion. Like, I mean, I was still like very faithful and all that, but my dad, every once in a while, probably every couple months, we'd go to the synagogue, and like we would always go to my grandmother's for like Shabbat dinner and all that stuff. So we were still like inclined.
A lot of traditions are still there. Yeah. So then, how did he get to Arizona?
Honestly, he just kind of he visited a friend, I'm pretty sure, and then he just liked the way like it was a lot more open. New York is super clustered and typically left leaning. And he's a lot more conservative, so he wanted to choose a lot more conservative state.
Yeah, interesting.
Which probably answers the question on why he got out of Europe and came to America.
And like,
because the wall fell in 85?
89.
Yeah, so it was like right at that same time. So it was kind of like, is the doors open? And everybody's like, sweet, let's go somewhere.
Yeah, and especially since like the 1990s in like what was the Soviet Union was particularly difficult because like everything fell apart. They all had to like rebuild from the ground up. It was just probably the best time to get out.
Just to get out, yeah. And New York was the place he came.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool, man.
Dude, that's an awesome story, man.
Yeah. That is a cool story. The immigration story that my family has is like, well, a long time ago they went to Canada and then they settled Southern California, which is kind of cool because it was like the orchards and all that stuff. So my great uncle was the first president of Sunkist. Really? So Sunkist was just a co-op of orchards, and so they just kind of pooled everything together. And so then they it was basically a co-op. It was the first business model, and then it expanded to become, Sunkist as we kind of see it today. But the navel orange, which is like the main orange, there's a picture of my uncle standing next to the very first navel orange tree because they crossbreeded two oranges a bunch of different times to get the navel orange. And it's like a picture of him standing next to this tree. I'm like, that's kind of a cool, pioneering origin story.
Family money went down the other side of the tree,
escaping Soviet Russia seems so much like more like a story that you write down.
And then my family still, or at least my dad's side, they still they never really hated it there. They just loved the idea of America a lot.
Yeah, the opportunity.
Because my grandparents, they wanted no part of moving. And my dad, he was 16 at the time, by the way. He was like, no, we're getting this paperwork filled out. Like, we're all going. And they're like, okay, whatever. Yeah.
Dang, that's pretty crazy.
That's wild, man.
That is wild. This is a different era.
Yeah,
that's totally different era.
I think
different world.
I think our buddy Nick Rostopchin's got a similar story.
Oh, to that?
I think so. Yeah. Like directly escaped Russian communism or whatever.
Yeah. It seems like a very fear-based running across, but it sounds to me like your dad was more like, no, there's opportunities, land opportunities here. The window's open for us to go, and we know that this is not going to be better than what's over there.
Yeah.
Have you guys gone back to Uzbekistan? Have you been back there?
No, my dad's been really pushing. He wants to go this summer if we can.
Oh, cool.
But we did go to the Republic of Georgia and Armenia, which it's pretty far. It's by Turkey.
Yeah.
And
a lot of Armenians in Southern California.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. So we went.
I had a good friend, Heather Rohana. Shout out to Heather. I don't think she's Rohana anymore, but she's Armenian.
Yeah. So we spent about a month there when I think it was the year before I went into high school, and I just got to see a lot of the mountains, the landscape, the people, and the people there are fantastic. Like,
it's cool.
They're probably one of the most hospitable.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah, cool.
Like that's kind of what they're known for.
Yeah, friendly. Like, come in, sit down, let's have some food.
Yeah, because my dad knew a guy who had an apartment there, and we stayed with him for the month. And
that's so awesome.
They like took us into their home, no question.
Yeah,
like, fed us, showed us like all these cool places.
It's awesome.
It was a really cool experience.
That is awesome. We're really good at making other foreign countries seem really scary. Like, oh no, they're mean over there. Especially in movies, they always like, especially like Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
Like the depictions of that, it's like everybody's mean. This guy on YouTube, he backpacked across China. He dropped him off in like the middle of China, and he was going to hitchhike for 3 days across China. He's English, and he's like, apparently the Chinese people are very mean.
Is it
so
that
this
bald
is
guy?
supposed to be pretty hard.
Is it the bald guy?
Is he bald? I don't know. I don't think he's bald.
Anyway, yeah.
Is it the bald guy? The bald guy. That was
bald
all you're
guy.
going to give
Oh,
me?
the
There's only
bald
one
guy.
bald guy on
The bald
YouTube.
Well,
I don't
that's
think
his
it's the
YouTube-
bald guy.
that's
This is a
his
different
YouTube
guy.
channel.
I think it's a
Bald
different guy. I know who you're talking about now.
Yeah.
But he literally hitchhiked across China. He just stuck his thumb out, and like
Bald and bankrupt.
police officers were like helping him. They were like waving people down. Like, can you help this guy? He's trying to hitchhike. And they're like, can't we just get you a bus ticket? Let me buy you a bus ticket. He's like, no, I don't want you to buy me a bus ticket. I want to see if I can do this thing. They're like, oh, okay. And he's talking to ChatGPT, and then it's translating it for him.
cool.
So he's just talking into the ChatGPT 4.0, and it's instantly like translating, so they can have full conversations, like passing the phone back and forth to each other.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy. But you would think that the people in China, there would be some English person, trying to hitchhike, he'd get arrested and put in some like prison somewhere like that. I feel like that's the way media portrays it, but that's not the reality. I backpacked Europe. Everybody was nice except for in Paris. Dude, Parisians, they do not like Americans.
Yeah.
They do not like Americans. I needed to print something. Oh, my ticket, because they wouldn't take my digital my digital ticket. The only train station in all of Europe that wouldn't let me take a digital ticket. They made me have a printed ticket. I was like, are you kidding me? And she's like, no. And my train was about to leave, so I like ran up the street. I found a computer shop, and the guy pretending like he couldn't speak English. I was like, I need to print this, and he just kept talking to me in French, and I almost missed my flight. It was completely stressful. Paris, and I got bed bugs in Paris, dude. Yeah. So anyway, that's the only bad place, I guess. My one anecdotal experience, but that's pretty crazy, dude. I'm glad I asked you about that. Jeff asked about your parents because that's a cool story. Anyway,
that was something I realized because, the presidential debate came up, and I was like, I'm going to be voting this year. I might as well tune in.
Did you watch it too? Did you watch the debate?
I watched a little bit, yeah.
A little bit?
I wasn't super involved in politics before this, obviously, like when in 2016, I didn't know what I was 13.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
there's
I
no
was
reason for a 13-year-old
Right.
to be involved in politics.
So I was like, let me listen to these guys talk. And they just had an argument about their golf game. Like the informality of it is kind of.
I actually never really thought about the person that had never seen a debate before, like you.
Yeah, this is what a
watching that
presidential
for the
debate
first
is.
time and being like, wait, this is what they do?
It's actually
like,
embarrassing.
It's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's so embarrassing. I was a political science major, and I took a speech class, and I used to watch debates. We used to, in class, and we had a few specific debates that we watched live. And just thinking of, the politicians of yesteryear, and then putting that side by side with like Donald Trump, it seems like Idiocracy. There's this movie Idiocracy.
Oh, I've seen it. My dad made me watch it.
Yeah, it seems like we're just so rapidly approaching that kind of a scenario, and I can't imagine for like your generation looking at that and being like, oh man, this is my first. I'm really impressed by these two people. There's no way you thought that.
No, not at all. I was like, I feel like I could. I probably don't know as much as them, but I feel like I could put together a better debate than
100%.
this.
Yeah, 100%.
Nobody cares about your handicap. You're gonna run our country.
Yeah, like the egos were so on show at that point. It's like, you clearly don't care to run the country for anything except to beat this guy. Like, you guys are just mad at each other. I was like, why are you guys arguing with each other? How about you just make your positions and move on? But they can't do that.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. I'm hopeful of the next generation of politicians after Trump.
Yes.
Well, yeah, because you think about like what the next 4 years looks like. I mean, these are fairly pivotal years, especially for you guys, on what, like what's going to set your political trajectory, what you're going to do for work, what taxes look like, what housing affordability looks like. I mean, next 4 years, a lot of those decisions are going to probably come to a head,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, even just the debate between Walz and Vance was way better.
Way better.
Way better.
Yeah. That was way more reminiscent of what a debate is supposed to be like, was those two. And even Walz as an individual, he's still a pretty polished politician, but he kind of always had this like kind of dumb look on his face. Like he was kind of shocked at whatever JD was saying. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
He always seemed like surprised at like what JD was saying. And JD is just very polished and smart, articulate,
self-made too.
Yeah, self-made. Yeah,
Comes
he
from
just
nothing,
seems like a
dude.
normal dude.
Comes from nothing.
You know
His
what I mean?
mom was like a drug addict, and he put himself through college and became a venture capitalist, made millions and millions of dollars, and got into the Senate. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so thinking about that next generation, and it'll just make, if you're a Democrat or if you're a left-leaning conservative, as a college kid, you're still trying to figure it out, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but like for us, we're 37. Like
what makes sense and what doesn't.
There's not going to be a lot of difference in our lives when we're 41, right? We're probably going to keep, like our kids will be a little bit older, but like for these guys, their lives are going to be completely different in 4 years than ours are. So,
well, and then just thinking about like, as you understand more, if you even care to, some people I think are just like, I don't want anything to do with politics. I think there's a big portion of the people that are just like, I don't have time for that. I'm not really motivated to understand more. My life is, going to go in a trajectory in one way or another, right? As a Christian, right? You think of, okay, is this vote actually going to change something? Okay. And that belief in that. And then also, is this my duty to do it as a citizen? I'm really hopeful though, that the generation behind us does look at it as their responsibility to, if we don't keep this institution, on its foundations, like the Constitution as it is, if we don't stick with that, and if we keep going off track or thinking the Constitution is not like an experiment, just an experiment that wasn't really well thought out, it's way off base. Like the Constitution as its design is thousands of years in the making, right? They've taken all of the education of, Rome and civilizations hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and said, this kind of a document is how we're supposed to run the government. And we're so far off track right now, we can't keep going off track. We gotta get back to that.
What makes us so much better than all of that knowledge, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's almost like we're sitting on a foundation that allows us to get better in some areas and make mistakes, but self-correct, right? But if you start eroding at that framework that can self-correct, like Trump won the presidency, the pendulum's going to swing back the other way. But those mechanisms at some point can get corrupted to where we can't swing back. Like what if Trump doesn't win and the left continues to lie to us or gaslight us in really monumental ways, and then they erode the Constitution in just enough way to where no election is fair at any level. You know what I mean? And then that slips off into complete chaos, right?
Yeah.
And so it's that leaning on the foundations. I'm hoping the generations behind us really drive that home.
Yeah.
But just thinking of like Constitution and government classes, were you guys interested in that at all? Like in high school, and then have you had to take any in college? I think you have to have at least an American government class in college, right?
I think it was either government or history, and I chose history because that's just more interesting to me.
Oh yeah. Just like basically the general past. And what'd you pick?
I think I did history because it was online.
Yeah,
and I
nice.
just got through it
Yeah,
pretty
see,
easy.
this is what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Like I remember the Constitution classes and things like that, but as an adult, I've had to do more learning on my own than school ever did.
Yeah. I do wish I picked the government class. I didn't think about it like that at the time, but
it's like a utility. And that's the thing too with college. I look back at it and too, I was like, man, I wish I would have taken classes that I'm like, I'm going to need this skill, not like what is going to get me a degree. It's like, what skills do I need as an adult? Okay. I need to for sure take an accounting class. And how do I apply that to just an average Joe? I get a paycheck. How do I manage my own money?
Well, I think that's part of the problem. Like I look back on mine, I went to the University of Utah, and I did like basically start to finish. Like I started I had some credits from high school, and then I did a semester of college before my mission. I went on a mission and came back and started. But like they made me take an art credit. Like I had to do a digital photography class, right? And I actually kind of enjoyed it. Like it was fun. You know, like it's not something that
but
I
it's
ever would have
3
chosen.
hours a week that you could have learned something
Right,
way
so-
more valuable.
yeah.
So my whole thought process in the class was like, wait a minute, I'm paying to be here, but they are telling me what I need to study. And so I look back and I'm like, maybe there's some things that I could have done different in college, but I think there's
You get put into a box a little bit depending on
into a
your
box,
major.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I was a political science major, so it's still pretty niched.
Me too.
Right? And so as a business management, maybe it's more, you have more options than I did.
well, I
And
think you still got to
it's-
take generals. Like they make you take some
Oh, yeah.
generals, right?
Yeah. Actually, so the best class I've taken in college so far has been this random one I took my freshman year. It was like it was a family relationships class.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about this. I remember
And
that.
it was incredible. Like maybe just for me, I'd recommend
It's like a
everybody
life
to take it.
skills. It's like a legitimate life skills class.
Talking about how to manage relationships within your family. It goes back down into your family tree, and it helps you just like diagnose like any trauma you might have. And it was super helpful. I enjoyed the entire class.
So maybe
He was fully reprogrammed in that one class.
Oh yeah.
well, there's probably something to be said about that. And maybe I'm in the wrong thinking, okay, maybe some of what the school is trying to do is open your mind up a little bit.
Did you have to take that class, or you just picked it?
No, it was what's the word for it?
Elective?
Elective.
Yeah.
It was just an elective class that
And you were like, I'm looking for a bird class. I need an A, easy
Yes,
A.
Dude, I did
Yes.
that with an astronomy class at the University of Utah, and I loved every second
Oh,
of it.
I made a
Yeah, I
mistake.
loved
I
it.
made a mistake and thought that the rock and roll history class was that. And she was like, if you think this class is going to be easy, you'll be lucky if you get a B.
That's how mine was, dude.
And I was like,
took it.
oh, dang it. This
It
is going
was
to be way
rough.
harder. But it was actually very interesting. She went into like the history of music and how
Yeah.
Michael Jackson ripped off like half of his art was all taken off of like African musicians, like blues and rock musicians before Michael Jackson. And then she even went in to show there's only certain frequencies and patterns within music that humans find enjoyable. And we basically patterned out all of those things. So now we're just like repeating those things in just a few different tweaked ways, or putting new lyrics onto almost exact same songs. And so she'd play these two songs at the same time, and you'd literally hear the same song, but the words make it seem different. But they've basically mastered, okay, this is the type of music that this group of people listen to. This is how, if you like blues, hip hop, R&B.
It's like the side by side of Greta Van Fleet and Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, they just basically just rip the whole thing off,
They
right?
ripped the whole thing off.
And so,
And then you got the
we all
Monkees.
just consume it. But you didn't know, you're not as familiar with Led Zeppelin, so you're like, oh, I know Greta Van Fleet, but we all like the same music, just different names of the bands, and it kind of sent me off on a weird like, dang it, we're kind of in a spiral. We just do the same thing over and over again. But it was before I had a Christian worldview of like societies doing ourselves the same thing over and over again. We do it with music, history of rock. She blew my mind. I got an A, nailed it.
wow.
That's cool.
A minus. It was an A minus.
Yeah.
It wasn't an A.
Still counts.
A's and
I was
A's.
so.
An A is
It's
an A.
not.
A's and A.
It's not. I was like, no, I'm gonna get an A. I'm not gonna have an A minus in history of rock. Come on. One paper did me in. Oh well.
Anyway.
So we all have that elective class. That's kind of cool. But the Constitution, right? And learning government and stuff like that. That's a huge need. At least between Jeff and I, I'm like, we got to figure out how do we educate the future generations on government, get them excited about it. So what are you guys gonna do next? What are you guys doing tonight? You gonna play video games? What is it?
Probably.
Thursday night.
It's Thursday.
No practice tomorrow. We get a little bit of sleep. A little bit extra sleep.
nice.
It'll be nice.
Cool.
I got to do a PowerPoint for my entrepreneurship class.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
What's it on?
So we're doing a minute pitch on like a business idea that we have.
Yeah.
And
Dude, that sounds awesome.
yeah.
Dude, let's test it out right here.
Okay. So the only thing that
Mic discipline. You got to lean into that mic
right.
though, brother.
Kiss that mic.
So the business in itself is, I was just kind of thinking about how like a lot of college kids just cannot find any good furniture anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And they're either too poor, they don't have a car to lug anything around, or they just don't have the time to go look for any good deals. So I was thinking that either like online, probably online, because that's the easiest. We'll either go to like offices, because they apparently in the United States, 17 billion tons of furniture is thrown away every single year, which I had no idea.
That's insane.
So we'd either go to like Walmart for any blemished furniture or any offices that are throwing it away. We just buy it at a reduced price. And then even seniors who are like looking to offload their furniture, we just buy from them. And then we'll just resell it to freshmen, sophomores, just looking to get any sort of furniture.
So sophomore, freshman orientation, you get, hey, you need furniture? Go to this website.
Yeah.
And then it's like a discount college kid furniture store. And they deliver it?
Yeah. So that was going to be my question. Do you have like would each school or whatever have their own like storage facility where you can store stuff and then like kind of recycle through it? And if it gets beat up, then you just throw it away? Or
yeah, I mean, I was thinking something like that, or if it was something that was easily taken apart and then like could easily put back together, we just ship it out to just right to them. They just get it in their front door, set it up, and they're good to go.
That's an interesting idea. Yeah, it's almost like it's getting the attention of all the college kids to know that that's the resource. And then the type, do you think pickiness, like the type of furniture, do you think college kids are all that picky?
It honestly depends on the person. I feel like there's a lot of people out there that want like the cool, like aesthetic room, and and then I feel like,
I wonder if this is a pitch. So if it's like in a specific market, right? So you're picking like this area, you say, okay, well, out of all the college dorms, we just furnish the college dorms.
Yeah.
And so the business would be, whether it's the college kids would say, hey, this is what I need, and this is the package, and you can furnish it, but it's not theirs. It's like they rent it for that semester. And then you either take it back if that next person in that room doesn't want the furniture there, but you could move it somewhere else. I wonder if you did like,
just kind of design it for them.
Yeah, just design it for them. Like, where all the, like you just named most of the student housing anyway. So you figure out, how many rooms are there, how many beds you need, how many desks.
It's honestly, that's not a bad idea.
And then you could you're already pre-furnished, like, oh, okay, hey, what's your address? Oh yeah, we have furniture that can fit for that place. It's X amount a semester or whatever.
And then if you're a college kid and you happen to like have a truck, you can like sign up for a delivery service or something where like, hey,
I'm curious. The colleges don't already have that, like, hey, will you grab me this while you're out type like community page where like the different students could help the different students out. Like, hey, I'm sick. Can anybody grab me, something at the Walgreens or whatever?
Yeah.
And you just send it out to everybody, and somebody gets a notification like, hey, $5, I could pick this up. Almost like
I'm already at Walmart.
Instacart. It'd be like Instacart for college kids.
Yeah.
Where it's like favors, like, hey, my light bulb went out. Does anybody have a light bulb? I don't know. I'm trying to think of like the problems that you guys might face.
Yeah.
And you throw it up on the message board.
There's always little things like today.
Dude, we just gave you like 18 ideas.
I know.
18 pitches.
Write those down.
Today we were at
Luckily we recorded them. Nailed it.
We were at a Swiffer Pads today. And it's kind of an inconvenience to just run to the store for one thing.
Yeah. It's like, anybody have an extra Swiffer Pads?
Yeah.
I'll pay you $5 or whatever, $2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thinking about that furnishing idea, that's a pretty good idea, dude.
I like it.
That's a good one. I think you're going to do well. You're going to do well. Entrepreneurship.
For sure.
So, well, I mean, you answered all my questions. What do you guys want to know?
So the one question I have, not one, but like kind of the like what's next, like maybe in conclusion type question is, because we work in real estate, mostly residential, do you guys have any idea what buying a house looks like? Where, like, when you would want to even buy a house, how much money it takes? Is that even a conversation on campus? Like, are other kids like, I want to make sure I have a house before I'm 30, or I want to buy a house next year? Are people talking about that kind of stuff? Are you guys even like
thinking
involved?
that way?
Yeah, involved in that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a fair amount of kids, especially as you get older, like junior, senior year, where you like really need to start looking into that. I'm kind of getting on that cusp where I have 2 years left of school and football and whatnot. So like maybe this year, next year, I like really need to start looking into it. So I think it's just like as people get older, then they really start to like research and look into things. And from what I've heard, the housing market in St. George is relatively expensive. So
yeah,
that's just,
yeah. I mean, across the state, you know, it just depends on what would you want? Like, what do you guys think when your first home, what would you guys want?
That's a good question.
I mean, I don't think I would get done with school and immediately look to buy a house because, you know, it depends on, you know, my marriage and our situations with our careers and what that looks like.
Where you're going to go next.
Right. And because my first house is going to be the house that my child grows up in.
You think so?
I believe so.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how it's gone in my family.
Okay.
You know, and maybe it doesn't go that way. But I think
that's actually awesome. That's like the thought process you have. I guess I'm surprised because I wouldn't have thought you would be thinking that long term in that first house that you buy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just wouldn't want to, you know, I'd never moved too much, you know, during my lifetime, during my childhood.
Yeah.
I've lived in the same house since I was born.
Yeah.
In Corona, California. And so
shout out to Corona.
Shout out Corona.
The 909.
Crown Town.
The 909. Not the 951. Don't get out of here with the 951. It's the 909.
909.
It's the 909.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I definitely think that's a conversation that needs to be had more on campus. Because I feel like a lot of kids have no idea, and they're going to hit that point where they're about to graduate, they're about to be done with school, and they're just going to sit there like, okay, how do I get to this point? Because I don't want to live with my parents for forever. You know, maybe they'll take me back for a little bit, you know, right after school.
Or maybe rent for 10 years.
So,
Right?
so like, this is what I think. I think if you look in St. George, there's not a ton of like first time home buyer investments. But like if you were to rethink that buying a house is buying a single real estate and then that's the only one you ever buy, rather than thinking a house is like a 401k or an IRA, or like, hey, this is an investment vehicle. This is like a way for me to, in my future, the value of this property is going to help me retire. Right. So my first house that I bought would be a house that we could have lived in for 10 years straight. It was a beautiful house in a cul-de-sac, single level, 3 beds, and an office, you know, good size garage, everything works. It's, you know, fairly updated, and we cash flow now as a rental around $700 a month net. That's after insurance, taxes, all the management fees, all that stuff. We take home $700 a month, right?
Because you kept it and bought another one.
Because I kept it and bought another one, and then I have a renter in it. And so when we think about a house, not just as a place that you live in, you raise your family, but you look at a house as a dwelling. It could be a condo, right? Where you could go in and buy a condo. And although that condo might not appreciate super fast, if you bought it and then getting renters in there to cover the mortgage and the, you know, principal that you have into it, and now all of a sudden that asset is appreciating, not with the money that you put into it, but at the total value of it, right? So it might cost you, let's say it costs you 15 grand, 20 grand to get into a condo, right? Now that 20 grand isn't the only percentage growing. If I put that 20 grand into a stock market, then it would only grow 20 grand at a percentage up, right? Well, if you put it into a house, the house is appreciating at the value of the house. So if I put 20 grand in to get a $200,000 condo, now it's appreciating at 200,000, not at my initial $20,000 in, right? So now it's compounding on the appreciated value, because real estate only goes like this. Now it goes down. If you zoom in, it goes down over shorter periods of time. But just like a retirement account, you're like, I'm gonna hold this asset for 10 or 15 years. It goes up. You know, it doesn't always go down for a full rift. But if you could kind of think of housing a little bit different, rather than just a place that you're going to raise your family, but another vehicle,
just another asset
that's going to help you get retired, you know?
Yeah.
So that's something we've talked about, educating the college kids. And because some people think that, but other people don't even look at real estate in that vein, right? As like a tool for wealth later on. You know, and the sooner you get into it, the better, just like anything.
One question that I kind of came up with was, I know there's people out there that want to buy a home, and then instead of just like giving it out for rent, they want to put it in like as an Airbnb or anything like that, or Vrbo. How would you guys like look at that?
So just like any other investment, right? So like what's the revenue that VRBO is going to bring in, and then what's the cost to manage that, right? And so currently in St. George, the vacation rental market home values are in free fall. Like they've pulled back 35% from the top, and they keep going down because there's no demand for them, and they're not really making the amount of money that covers itself. Like if you got a loan. Now, if you have cash and you bought that property fully with cash and you don't have a loan on it, yeah, it's going to provide you income, but what's your loss? Like you put that cash in that house versus putting that cash into the stock market, which one would be better? And it's probably arguable you could put in a 10-year treasury bill and make a better return than buy a vacation rental. Gotcha. You know what I mean? So like this window of time, if you would have asked me 2 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, vacation rental values are exploding. Right. And so that long arc, right, is part of that real estate, but a single family, just typical home, that's really the investment that as a younger person getting into it sounds maybe boring, but it's like the entry level standard. What's the type of house the most number of people would have an option to buy? Like how many, like the lower income is actually the best investment properties because they're always rented. You're never going to have to worry about somebody doesn't want to rent it. Right. And so if you can get in the lower income bracket and something that's universally able to rent out to, like it's on a single level, doesn't have 2 stories, an older couple can go in there in and out, or a brand new family, college kid. Utility, versatility, that's kind of the biggest thing I would look out for in picking up real estate. And then other areas of the country, like you guys are from other areas, those other areas might be better places to invest than St. George, but getting curious and kind of looking out for values and kind of understanding that you can buy a house from anywhere, you don't actually have to physically be there, right? You can do everything over notary, and you can go check it out one time over a weekend and be like, yep, I like this house and the numbers make sense. And then you don't actually have to be there. I would say getting a property manager, like a good property manager, is another key piece to it. Is paying for a professional to manage it and rent it out and make sure that they handle it. You bake that into the numbers. So like 10% a month, make sure that that's factored in, and somebody else does the work. You don't have to do it. You're not going to like take a phone call because the dishwasher went out, somebody else take that call. You know what I mean? So just something to think about.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And you don't have any money. You can buy a house with no money down, 0 money. And they'll give you a grant. A grant, they'll give you money.
Yeah, I know a guy. I met him at the gym. He's 25 now. But he borrowed a down payment for a house, just like a crappy old house in, I think it's in Washington, right? While he was going to school, borrowed money from his parents for a down payment.
How dare you say that about that house? It's probably not a crappy house. Sorry, I took you off track.
Well, I mean, it was old and beat up, right? Needed a bunch of work, right? So borrows a down payment from his parents, starts after classes and like in between classes and stuff, starts pressure washing people's driveways. Takes him 6 months to pay his parents back. He gets like 4 or 5 other guys to rent the house with him. He's making like $1,800 a month on top of the mortgage. And now 4 years later, the house is worth 120 grand more than when he first bought it. Right.
Yeah.
So lots of different ways to skin a cat when it comes to real estate. But I think kind of a universal thought is real estate is a long game. You can own real estate anywhere in the country. And, somebody told me this one time, but you don't get rich selling property. Or in other words, the more properties you buy, the better off.
Yeah, so, you buy it, don't sell it.
And then with this kid, I mean, he bought it when he was 21. So 30 years later, if he keeps the loan the entire time, 30 years later, he's 51. The house is probably worth triple what he paid for it. And it's free cash flow, whatever it is, whether you're renting it out or, whatever. So.
Yep.
Wow.
Anyway, it's an interesting perspective that the college kids need to hear. So you got to spread the word. You got to tell your friends.
Yeah, it's good to know.
Buy real estate.
Yeah.
And
it might not be everybody's, not everybody in college is like, I want to be a millionaire, right?
Yeah, but I think everybody in college would be like, how fast can I get to retirement? and like how
Probably,
like
yeah.
residential real estate. Dude, we've talked to dozens of people that were like, we just started buying houses. You know, they worked a standard, you know, made 80 grand a year, right? But they just kept buying houses and staying steadfast with that. And they retired millionaires. And that's like all that they did was just buy up real estate. And then they decided like, oh, if I sell this house, and this house, I can pay these two off and make $5,000 a month and be retired. And now I have $2 million in cash that I can go buy another house in Scottsdale or something, you know, and they worked, you know, teachers, they worked $80,000 a year jobs and that's it. So that strategy and thinking, any college kid should be thinking, okay, how fast can I get to retirement? It's like the whole point of going to work, maybe to build something, but you don't want to have to work. So how can I make money enough to where I could wake up and all my bills are paid? I can buy food. I'm not worried about anything. And that money just keeps coming in. Real estate can help you get there, aside from whatever other job that you're doing. But the sooner you get into real estate, the better it is over that long tail. That's my pitch. There's another pitch right there.
That's great.
It's good. Yeah. But vacation rentals can play into that too. If you're like, hey, I
Some
want to
of
build a
them.
vacation rental portfolio.
Depends on the location.
Depends
Location.
100%.
Yep.
It all is the location, right? Like if you buy a house in, you know, Des Moines, Iowa, and you're like, I'm going to make money, you know, Airbnb, and it's like, nobody's going to Des Moines. Maybe a few people.
And it's also timing, right? It's like, just depends on the timing. It's like right now, maybe people aren't traveling to St. George, but maybe they're traveling to Memphis because the East Coast is closer and there's a lot more people. So
Theo Vaughn lives in Memphis.
yes, there you go.
Saying.
But thinking of like vacation rentals as a portfolio, and that's kind of, that takes a lot of knowledge,
a lot of knowledge,
a lot of effort and time. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I got to find which market is good and which market's not.
Yeah.
But that'd be a good business idea. It's like figure out what are hot real estate markets and make it like a little barometer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get agents to sign up for it.
Have AI like build you a model that just like spits out daily
Hey, real estate deals across the country. Like we analyze the data. This is a good one. It's in Mississippi. That'd be a cool idea.
Yeah, man.
We're not going to do that. We're going to just sell houses locally. You could do it, dude. You could do it. You could do it.
Yeah.
All right. That's it.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for coming.
Thanks
it was
for
awesome.
coming and hanging
Thanks
out.
for
man.
having us.
Absolutely, man. It was fun.
Good luck in the last two games.
Thank you.
I think you're going to win both.
Yep.
Hands down.
2-0, baby.
SUU is going down.
Oh
do
yeah,
it.
we're getting that axe back.
Getting that axe back.
Yeah.
Cool, guys. Okay, we're going to be watching you.
All right.
Thanks for coming on. We'll see you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Thanks for listening in. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. Make sure you're following us on all the social media websites. We love your support. We love the dialogue. We want to continue that going.
Find us at realestate435.com. We'd love to help you find a house here in town or help you get wherever you're going.